Welcome to the Off Campus Podcast. We're a bunch of college students interested in politics, and we've been seeing what's going on with the fake news hysteria. And after the Trump inauguration, we decided to start this as a way to signal the start of a new presidency, so to speak. So that'll be the main topic of today's episode. My name is Michael, and I will be joined on the show by Garrett and Katie, who you'll see shortly. So let's get started.
Okay, so to start with Trump's inauguration, the people present, we saw Bill and Hillary, Barack and Michelle, Joe and Jill, Trump's family, a lot of big names, Pelosi, Ryan. However, 60 Democrats, I believe is the correct number, refused to show up. But to head off, we saw Missouri Republican Senator Roy Blunt's speech, my dad. He goes on, he quotes Reagan, "It's commonplace and miraculous we do this every 4 years. The transfer of power between the first three presidents." He further quotes Lincoln, FDR, JFK. It's a celebration of democracy rather than victory. After that, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, Reverend Samuel Rodriguez, and Pastor Paula White-Cain led prayer and Bible reading. And then Democratic New York Chuck Schumer gave a rather economically and socially progressive speech. Just to summarize, he said the rich are getting richer. We have a flawed media, despite race, gender, income, etc. We're all exceptional. Again, mentions the peaceful transition of power and stresses free protection of all under the law, which I personally think is a kind of a hit at Trump. And he ends off reading from Sullivan Ballard. So what do you guys think about the messages in each of their speeches, the people who refuse to show up, and the Bible reading?
I think they were both good speeches, and I thought it was a really good tactic on Roy Blunt's part to use the quote by Ronald Reagan to, I guess, kind of draw the attention in favor of some Republicans.
I think it's kind of interesting how Roy Blunt mentioned in his speech that this is a celebration of democracy. And then today we see, at least I saw on social media, many people saying this is not democracy, claiming that this election was not democracy, when it was the same kind of election that we've had the past however many years. It was this same kind of process, same kind of winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a very unitary message, which is good. However, like you said, it's ironic that we're having protests and that something like 30 to 40% of people said they wouldn't accept the results of the election. Yeah, this election was probably a kind of the least democratic, feely election that definitely we've ever experienced. And as the Democrats who refuse to show up, I think it's kind of petty. I mean, you're not doing anything, and it really only hurts you because, I mean, I'm thinking if Obama and Hillary can show up, I mean, you can at least show a little bit of respect. As for the prayer, though, Michael, I texted you 16 minutes in, and we've already violated the First Amendment. I mean, I was just completely awestruck that I knew it was going to happen, but that fast.
Yeah.
And Paula, like I mentioned in my notes here, that she went on, and I think you know something about Paula White-Cain, Michael.
Yeah, well, I mean, just from like what I've heard, is she kind of has like a pyramid scheme type thing, where basically, like her belief is that God favors the richest people in the world, which is obviously like directly contradictory to the Bible.
Scripture.
Yeah. But anyways, she basically just preaches that if you give her money, then you'll win the favor of God, and by doing that, you'll become rich in the process. So it's like, if you transfer your money to her, then eventually all that money will just end up making its way back to you, as well as the Lord's favor, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a scam a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. If you're willing to give them your money for, invisible results, maybe you kind of deserve to not have that money. low hanging fruit, but I mean, she's the one picking it, so yeah. All right. I guess to move on to Trump's speech, I guess before I get into it, like, word sentence by sentence, what do you guys feel about it?
Um, well, I thought it was overall pretty good. Like, he seems like he's turning back to the populist wave that he really rode on at the beginning of the election. And I think that's really what
Hmm.
got him into office and what united people together. Um, but
Hmm.
obviously, over the past few months, you've kind of been seeing him turn away from the populism. And you've been seeing his cabinet picks, who are obviously much more neoliberal, free trade, you know.
Yeah.
But I think he's hopefully turning away from that, or at least in his rhetoric, he's turning back to
Hmm.
populism.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's just very confusing between all the different messages that we get from him because we get this populist message, which I think is very strong and is a good start to his campaign, how he should run his campaign, since that's how he got his votes. And then on the other hand, we see him hiring these people, which are pretty much going to do the opposite. And a lot of people, like he
Mhm.
hired 6 people, I think, that work for Goldman Sachs,
Yeah.
and he was the one saying, "Oh, Hillary's all with Goldman Sachs. She's all up with the big guys," and he's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely thought it was a very good speech. At first I was thinking there's no way he could have written this, but I guess reading it, it does seem kind of at some parts it does seem kind of rambly. In other parts, it's kind of the more very simple sentences. Tremendous, believe me.
Yeah, I think
America's going to win again.
it's very plausible that he like outlined it, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of just technicalities that you can tell that it wasn't Donald Trump who finalized it
Oh
by all
yeah, there was
means.
a ghostwriter involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I definitely appreciate the populist message. I mean, reading through it and just like going line by line. Um, I know I have the crappiest mic, but I'm the one with the transcript. So yeah, going through it, I'm just reading through parts, and for too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Um, let's see. But for too many of our citizens, a different reality exists. Mothers trapped in poverty. Uh, I was thinking a lot of it. This is some stuff Bernie would have said.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, one line: "We are one nation, and their pain is our pain." I remember distinctly. I believe it was when Bernie was asked about his religious beliefs. Um, he he said, "When they feel pain, I feel pain. Their pain is my pain." Something along those lines, and you know, I mean, that's kind of straight from Bernie Sanders, that one little part right there. And he goes on. I mean, about half the speech is just pure populism. Our rusted out factories. It's definitely very populist, which I appreciate. I did notice a few things that didn't seem quite too populist, kind of going more to kind of appease the right. For example, very sad depletion of our military, even though they're receiving over $600 billion a year. Let's see. At the bedrock of our politics will be a total allegiance to the United States of America. Does he mean blind patriotism? Does he mean authoritarianism? Because he did go on about removing citizenship and arresting people who burn the flag. Um, one good thing I did see, we do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone. So to me, that seems kind of a less offensive foreign policy, kind of a less nation building type thing. So, uh, foreign policy is kind of my thing, so I definitely appreciated that. Yeah, overall, it was a good speech. Um, he definitely included a lot of biblical stuff in it, which I felt after the amount of prayer we saw already was a little unnecessary, but Republican, he's got to cater to them. But yeah, I appreciate the populist rhetoric, but I don't know if I believe it. I don't believe it.
Seems a little too good to be true coming from him.
Yeah, like Michael said, he started off populist, but as he started taking money, as he started getting in with the establishment, you saw him, go back to the right. So, I mean, there are a range of possibilities. This could be his true intention. He just appeased the Republicans to get elected, and now he's going back to this. Or this could be, false rhetoric. We don't know. Although I don't believe it.
You don't think he's really populist?
No. I mean, I think the one thing he is populist on is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's the one thing he's actually stuck with through and through. Now I know Republicans are definitely in favor of it, but sorry, seeing as that's the one thing he's been writing this whole campaign, I do think that's the one thing he's going to at least try to stick to. His cabinet and Congress may force him out of it, but yeah, other than that, I don't believe, aside from the TPP, he's going to be as populist as this suggests.
I think he's very much with the establishment, and
Yeah.
it's all a game a little bit to get those people, the flyover states, the votes that came in, and it worked.
Yeah. Yep. Michael, any final thoughts?
Not on that. I guess. Do you want to discuss his cabinet picks?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess to transition into that, to quote Trump, we stand at the birth of a new millennium, ready to unlock the mysteries of space, to free the earth from the miseries of disease, and to harness the energies. Energy pick, Rick Perry, who wanted to abolish it. So, yeah, let's talk through some cabinet picks. So, Rick Perry doesn't believe in the Department of Energy, doesn't believe in climate change. Let's see. Scott Pruitt to the EPA, doesn't believe in climate change, has criticized the EPA. So, as far as energy and environment goes, we're going to be set back a good bit. Michael, you're more the economist, so how do you feel about Mnuchin, Clayton?
Yeah, all the Goldman Sachs guys. Let's see. You got Steven Mnuchin is going to be the head of the Treasury, and I know he's really been pushing hard on the budget, and he wants to I think he wants to pass 50-year bonds as a way to finance government debt, which I mean, it's really ridiculous because the government, it has its own money. It can just create money whenever it wants to spend. It's not constrained by taxes or bonds. So why there's even a debate over this, I don't know. But
although wouldn't inflation occur if they just printed off more money?
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at like the economy right now, like capacity utilization rates are at all-time lows, and the unemployment rate, like participation rates, are still extremely low. And then if you look at the U6 unemployment rate, it's still relatively high compared to like before 2008. So like the odds of having inflation are extremely low. Even if we had like a $2 trillion deficit, it wouldn't even make a dent. But yeah, Steven Mnuchin, and then you've got Mick Mulvaney, he was the, I believe he was an associate, maybe at Goldman Sachs. I'm not sure about that. But he's going to be the head of the budget, and he wants to pass a balanced budget amendment, actually, which would be awful, as you can imagine. And then obviously Donald Trump has been talking a lot about how he's gonna, pay off the debt, the $20 trillion debt and everything, which would imply that he
Yeah.
would run a surplus. And if we ran a surplus, I can almost guarantee that there would be an economic contraction and probably a double dip recession.
Yeah. Yeah. If we got a surplus in that short amount of time, it would not be based on a solidly founded economic growth. It'd be kind of like an economic steroid shot.
Yeah, exactly. You'd just be taking money out of the economy. Like, that's all it
Yeah.
does. It's just a contraction, nothing else, a vacuum. Um,
All right.
and then you've got Gary
Clayton.
Cohn, who was the COO of Goldman Sachs.
Mhm.
And then you've also got Jay Clayton, who was an
Yeah, Jay
associate
Clayton,
of Goldman Sachs as well. And he's going to be
Securities and
overseeing,
Exchange.
yeah, exactly. That's like $27 trillion equity market right there. And he's been pushing hard
Yeah.
for deregulation for years. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I definitely do not trust. I don't trust Clayton with the SEC. I don't trust Mnuchin with the Treasury. I think we. Let's see. Who haven't we covered? Jeff Sessions, Attorney General, and we've got Kudzer for labor, the guy who doesn't believe in labor. He wants automation. So that's the big thing that really turned me off from. That made me doubt the populist rhetoric in this. He's talking about we're going to bring our jobs back, but your Secretary of Labor wants to automate. And automation, by what research I've done, I've heard automation is like the silent killer to our jobs.
Mm.
Shipping them off is obviously bad, but automation is killing them faster than anything. And lastly, Betsy DeVoe to education, who, if I'm correct, doesn't think public schools should be a thing, and
Mm-hmm.
isn't wants complete deregulation of private. So
Yep.
you could teach your kids about the wonderful glory of the flying spaghetti monster who killed Voldemort, and
I
that would
think
be fair game as far as she's concerned.
just on like a general note, we're all pretty liberal politically, and Trump didn't really, he ran as a conservative, but we didn't really know because he promised a lot of non-conservative actions. And then
Mm-hmm.
the people he's appointing are all very conservative, very classically conservative, which is
Mm-hmm.
surprising.
Yeah, yeah, I do have to agree with that. Being further to the left, Trump, as much as I disliked him personally for the things he said, on a policy note, I thought, well, he seems just as bad as the other Republicans on just about everything, but he's against the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He wants to keep jobs here. Like, that's the one thing, like, ignoring personal insanity, megalomania, ignoring personal stuff, that's kind of the one thing that put Trump over everyone else, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, I didn't want any of them to win, but yeah.
He also had non-conservative views, I think. I'm not completely sure on this since he changed many times on, the whole
Mhm.
LGBT thing. I believe he said he
Yeah.
supported that. Socially, it seemed like he had some more liberal ideas, but we
Yeah.
don't know now.
Mm.
Seems
Yeah.
unsure now.
Oh, yeah. Bernie Sanders actually pulled up this tweet a while ago. Trump bragged about being the only Republican candidate to not want to gut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. He said he was fine with gay rights, which probably upset Pence. And I think Ivanka prompted him to talk about maternity leave, paid maternity leave. So he definitely is more populist than the rest of them. However, I do feel he's a bit more authoritarian. Granted, kind of all Republicans are authoritarian, but a little more so. So I think the official term is authoritarian populism. So moving on to after Trump's speech, we got a little off topic with the cabinet picks. After the speech, Rabbi Marvin Eyre, Reverend Franklin Graham, Bishop Wayne Jackson led more prayer and Bible reading. Graham saying rain is a sign from God, and it started to rain when Trump stepped up, which is ridiculous. I mean, honestly. Anyway, Jackie Ivanko, I believe is how you pronounce it, sang the national anthem, which was really good. Made up for a little bit of the bogus prayer. And that was the end of the inaugural procedure. A few hours later, or a little bit later, further away, we had lots of protests. You had protesters blocking the parade route, throwing bottles and rocks, smashing windows. There's video of a guy with a black flag with an A for anarchy, I guess, burning trash cans. 95 people were arrested. There's pepper spray, smoke grenades, flashbangs, riot police deployed. So yeah, that was interesting to watch. How do you guys feel about the riot? Let's be honest.
It really wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it's just me because I go on like anarchist subreddits and stuff, like really radical stuff. But it just seemed really overhyped, and then nothing really came of it. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but still, I'm just kind of thinking you're not going to take him out of office, and you're just tainting whatever cause you're fighting for. I mean, acting in a violent, rebellious, riot manner really just kind of taints your message. They can then use that against you. And in a modern civil society, when someone's being violent, just psychology says they're probably the bad guy. So I think it's counterproductive for their cause.
I think it's also important to point out, though, that there were those riots that happened. There was plenty of people that did those violent acts. But then today, as we saw, there was the Women's March that happened all over the world, and that was very peaceful. That was not rioting.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big difference to make, because a lot of people disapprove of him, but they're not being violent about it. Only a few people are.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot the Women's March was today. Yeah, there also were peaceful protesters during the riots, but I'm not going to get too much onto a new topic, but I think it's pretty sad our media, there's a peaceful protest, thousands of people, and then there's a violent protest of like 100, 200, and like, oh, violence, that gets ratings.
Yep.
And then they cover that. So, but I'm not going to get into media. That's a whole another 2 or 3 episodes probably. So yeah, that's 2017 Trump inauguration. Hope we covered it all, gave good information, good insight, and thank you guys for watching.